Dillon Brooks, whoever your trainer is in the summer, good job, man.
Meet David Tyndale, a Toronto-built hooper turned elite basketball mind. The trainer trusted by NBA names like Andrew Nicholson, Nick Stauskas, and the relentless Dillon Brooks. He mastered the game, but when the playing days ended, the question became, who was he without the ball?
You put so much pain into something and everybody sees you in a certain light. It's like, now who are you?
Like, how did you go from that person to Details Matter? You're now training Stauskas, Nicholson. You're now Dillon Brooks. Like, I see the grams, I see the private jets. You've used the game. This is what you've probably wanted for yourself in a different way, but now you just have it in another capacity, which is the point, right? That's the beauty of the transition.
And this is for anybody like in it right now, young kids that are playing, guys that are pro right now, guys that are college, whatever it is. The number one thing is obsession and the excellence that you pursue on the court. You just have to let that trickle into other areas of your life.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of You Only Die Twice. I'm your host, Warren Ward, and in this episode, I'm joined by none other than my high school rival, David Tyndale. There's so much to say about David. We talked about his journey from Father Gates in Mississauga to York University, not going D1, trying to have a long-term pro career, ended up being depressed and almost regretting that choice, but finding solace in building a brand around basketball. And he's now transitioned into that field. He now works with the likes of players like Nick Stauskas, Andrew Nicholson, and even now Dillon Brooks. And he's helped these people develop into better basketball players, find out how he built that business, how he's managed to build himself up from where he was, and everything in between. But before we start, the best way to support this podcast is to like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share with a friend. And without further ado, let's get into it.
When this is gone, I die.
I think there's two different sides to this. There's the retirement side that is, or just the athlete transition side that is happy, like meaning you found peace in your next life, and then there's the other side of that people where maybe they haven't been able to be as successful in their career transition, and they feel a little bit lost. So the point of this is to leave breadcrumbs for other people to follow. So the people that we sit down with, not only do they resonate with this, but they have their own story. And knowing you for the 12 years that I just talked about, I know a lot of that, but there's also a lot that I don't know.
For sure.
There's a lot of and you've been open with me off camera about some of the depression and some of the things you went through with basketball. Absolutely. And it's funny that you're now pouring more of your life into the sport. And that's why you're here, because to me, you're a lifer. You're someone you are basketball. You're not just someone who played the game. You've given everything to it.
100%. So
I want to know, I know you've seen this podcast, but why is it important for you to be here?
Shoot. Everybody got a story, and, ultimately, like, having platforms and, respected platforms with people who have walked this walk, I respect you at a very high level, as a man, as a brother, as a friend, as a basketball player, as a competitor, and I know that you give everything to what you do. So for me, to be able to be in this position and be in this environment to, share my story, my transition, my respect for this game, my respect for, just this overall process and journey, it means everything, and again, I haven't really been someone to share my voice as much in these type of environments, and there's a select few that will get me out here to do those type of things.
Appreciate it.
As I said, that's a testament to my respect just overall for you as well. So
thank you.
My brother's the reason I'm on here, my dog. So, it's shout out to you for real. So,
I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Who introduced you to basketball? Because that's the part I don't know.
Shoot. Introduced me to basketball. I come from a family of athletes. I'm the youngest. So I've got siblings, oldest brother, Tommy. I got an other brother, Jonathan, but a sister who's actually above Jonathan, Margot. She also played, ran track. They all did every sport. But my oldest brother, he was probably the first person I saw actually playing. We'd go to his tournaments. And he worked hard. Like, he was ambidextrous as well, so he could shoot threes left and right.
Okay.
And he could really jump. So I used to just get to watch him. I never got to really play with him, but I get to watch because I was too young. But my mom bought me a 3-set VHS Michael Jordan set. It was Michael Jordan Airtime, Michael Jordan Above and Beyond,
Yep.
and Michael Jordan Come Fly With Me.
They don't even know about VHS.
They don't know about no VHS.
Come Fly With Me was crazy.
But that three set VHS that had me like obsessed.
Yeah.
I'm watching his footwork. I'm watching, all the little details of, how sharp and precise his movements were, the angles. And I'm a kid, you know what I mean? So I played the game, but once I saw that, I play for fun. Once I saw that, I was like, no, I love this game. Like, this is the best sport ever. It's an art form, the creativity, the individuality that you can have, and ways that you can express yourself on the floor just made it, something like it was a true love story, like right off the rip.
Did you see yourself doing anything else with your life other than basketball?
Absolutely. One thing is, like, I pride myself on, having a lot of layers to me. There's a lot that people don't know. I love art just in general. Science is something that I love. Like, I wanted to be a chiropractor for real.
Okay.
I went through certain phases of my life where there was things like that, and still to this day, there are things that I look at as, it's never too late. So yeah. I have things in my life and in my vision where, you never know. But basketball has always been something that I knew would be, a part of my life. Once I fell in love with it, like, there was no letting it go. So whatever capacity I wanted to be involved in it, and life takes pivots that kind of force you to be in certain situations and be involved. Exactly. But it, like I said, once it was a true love story, it kind of was something that you're never going to let go.
Yeah. And one of the things that I noticed about you at a young age was that because you were small and undersized at that time, you always
still small and undersized.
Okay, fair. All right.
Lionheart, though.
But there you go. But you played with a massive chip on your shoulder.
Yes.
Always something to prove. Even for those who don't know, your MSN name was Kill with 11. It was K11L.
Yeah, KI11.
KI11. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's and then you had point guard. It's not even guard. It was. I remember this.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Confidence,
bro. Yeah. So you were always had that chip on your shoulder. Now maybe that you're not so much in sports, but first of all, where'd that come from too? What do you do with that now? Where do you put that?
The chip on my shoulder, like I said, being the youngest, and shout out to my siblings for not babying me. Right. You got to scrap for a lot. You know what I mean? And you got to be tough, and you got to have a tough skin, and you got to be able to thug it out, just to say the least. You know what I mean? So I kind of had no choice. That was just part of like survival, if you want to say. And then, my first experiences with basketball weren't like happy-go-lucky like some kids. A lot of kids are super elite really early.
That wasn't your case.
They have a foundation. No, I wasn't super elite early. I was a little bit shy, as a player, and
Why?
that came from different things. You know what I mean? I was undersized. Of course, I was small. I was, 90 pounds in grade 8, 4'11", 4'10", like literally, like, I was small, but I was like very, very aggressive. So, I just didn't know how to kind of channel it and figure it out and be confident myself. And, getting cut from Mississauga Monarchs, when you go to those trouts, early, it kind of makes you realize, and it's humbling, that, there's a lot more work to do. So for me, I kind of channeled the anger and the disappointment and the feeling that I felt and just the natural temperament that I had, which was like, you got to scrap for everything. I have a little bit of rage. Let me channel my rage to the way I train and the way I play. You know what I mean? So it was like the game was a place to go and speak, you know what I mean? And let your emotions kind of speak. So when the game would start, it was like, yeah, I could be this cool, chill guy. Sometimes I'm a little bit, heightened off the court. I could be intense, but once the game starts, I'm extremely intense, and I can't shut that off because that's just how it has to be. Right. To kind of just let off everything that you're feeling, maybe that's going on in your life, or what you're maybe going through, or whatever it is, and just, like I said, let it speak. So, it was always an escape, really, and you just kind of just die on the floor.
And what do you do? And what do you do with that now?
Honestly, it's crazy. I had years of, like I said, a bad relationship, if you want to say, with basketball. It was like a depression, like a love-hate. Where that competitive edge and that kind of fire, you kind of have to kind of let it fade out. I not that I had to, but I kind of needed to, because it was part of my next chapter. You know, you don't have to be this warrior at all times. You don't have to be this intense person at all times. You know, King David, if you want to say. It's not everybody's Goliath, bro. It's not always I won one. So you know, for me, I kind of had to just tone it down a bit. And you know, the what's left of it though, the way I train and the way I prime people to be the best versions of themselves, I try to give them everything that I have and that I had. You know what I mean? So, you know, the way that people approach their work, the way that people are obsessed over their own development, the way that people, you know, study the game, their seriousness, just your overall intensity that you play with, your urgency. Because there's a sense of urgency when you step on a basketball court that you have to have, and too many people are too cool.
I can see it in your face.
I'm getting worked up right now.
Yeah, I can see it.
You understand what I'm saying? So there's
an
an intensity and an urgency that, you know, like I said, when the ball's thrown up, you kind of just have to play with. And, you know, that's what I try to give to people. So I bark a lot. I yell a lot. You know, I'm fiery in that way. And, you know, I think it gets the best out of people.
You said you had to let it go. How did you let it go? If someone else is watching this and they're like, I'm the same way as David. I have the chip on my shoulder. I want to let that go because I need to in order to become something else later on. How did you do that?
You know, so it was I had to still stay connected to the game. I think it was, you know, being around youth in sport was kind of helpful. Like I'm saying, younger kids, we're like 8, 9, 10, 11, where it's just about having fun. Yeah. You know, it's not about wins and losses and about trying
getting
to shoot
something
50%
from it.
from the field, 40 from 3.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking at your
50,
stats.
40, 90.
You know, it's not
yeah.
about that. It's just about having fun, you know? And I think that was a big transition and helpful thing for me to do, because you don't want to just cold turkey it. You want to still find a way to kind of have and keep some ties. So, you know, shout out to my boy Justin Alleman.
Yeah.
You know, me and him we're doing a little bit of training with the kids, you know, trying to give back. And, you know, I was working with him with Dream Chasers, and, you know, we were doing stuff in the school board, working with youth mentorship programs, but still keeping basketball as a part of what we're doing.
Right.
But that kind of relationship with the game kind of just, like I said, it took the competitiveness away. It just made it about, you know, joy. And, you know, it gave me a little bit of peace. And then, you know, that's when the development eventually just happened to just start, you know, and, you know, doing the work with the youth, you start to produce talent. And, you know, you like I said, you're still connected to the game, but just in a different way. So, you know, you kind of take a back seat and let those guys go out there and do what they do and kind of enjoy it and live vicariously through them.
Nice.
You know,
we're gonna get to training in a second.
Sure.
I wanna go back to Gates, and I want to go back to York.
Yeah.
So tell me about your basketball experience at Father Gates, and more importantly, when you're coming out of high school, you were on the cover with is it Crown?
Crown.
DeVoe Joseph, who we've had. We've had Justin Alleman on here, so yeah, I mean, shout out to Dream Chasers and Justin. We've had him on, but DeVoe, Corey, yourself, and I forget the fourth.
KK.
And Keaton Cole, man.
Yeah.
Shout out KK. You were, at that point in time, maybe you said it, you know, in the beginning you said you weren't well known, then you became well known. You were on the cover of that, which is obviously a, you know, phenomenal feat. I think everyone at that time would have loved to get, you know, like that type of recognition, because we didn't have no mixtapes to put on Instagram.
No.
It was, you really had to be good.
You really had to put up numbers. 25-point club.
There you go.
Hometown GTA. 20,
exactly.
You needed your name up
you
there.
needed your name up there a lot to do that.
Straight
so
up.
why at that point in time, like, you can talk about Gates, but why didn't you go D1?
Well, Gates in general for me, it was a great, well, I'll just start with that. It was a great experience, you know, going in there. It was a lot of pressures. It was a basketball school.
Yes, they were.
When there was no
Gates
prep
tournament
schools.
was real.
Yeah, it was a basketball school, and it was weird. You know, we had just talent on the boys' side, talent on the girls' side, and coming in, it was like a lot of guys that were just in the community. Guys were moving from different areas. You know, shout out the Roch brothers, Toot and Rico.
Come on.
You know, they came from Toronto, came down here, and, you know, they kind of put Gates in a different light. You know, my brother was there playing older guys, you know, Jamal Hodge, you know, Mike Campbell. Shout out to those guys for real. But basketball at Mississauga was, you know, it was low key, you know, at a point. But, you know, when I was in middle school coming up, it's like you got to pick a school Father Gates is the school you want to go to. So as I said, there was pressures getting in there and going in there. It wasn't a situation where you can play up. You got to wait your turn, but you're going to get doses and chances to compete with the guys that are ahead of you and older than you. And, you know, that environment there, we'd have, I don't know if people did this at their schools, but we would have refs come in to Gates, and we would have all the best players from Bantam, junior and senior, and just divide them up and we'd play.
Oh, no, we didn't have that.
Oh, and the refs would just, and you'd get the call up, like one player from grade 9 would come up.
Right.
One player from grade 10, maybe two, and then like the rest of them are seniors, and you're just playing and the refs are just reffing. It's like a ref clinic.
Right.
You know, but they're using us.
Right.
So, you know, I realized right away, I'm like, this is a different type of environment. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know if anyone else was doing that, like I said, but shout out Gates for that. It kind of just exposed you to, you know, a competitive environment and just the level up, you know? Like I said, there's always somebody ahead of you that was a guy, you know, so you're chasing somebody. You're really chasing somebody.
Yeah.
And, you know, we had the YMCA very close to us at Gates. So every day was about development. If you didn't have practice, you're going straight to the Y, and everyone's going to compete. So develop and compete, and we were all about it. So it was nice being around like-minded people, you know. So for me, every year it was just kind of like, you got to take a leap. You got to take a leap
Which
if
you
you want to
did.
play.
Which you did.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, and I think in that time, being around certain people, like I said, it just taught me how to work. And one thing I prided myself on was, you know, just working different than others, doing everything at game speed, you know, trying to challenge yourself and, you know, the speed that you pick the ball up, because, you know, in a game, you kind of have to rush sometimes.
Yes, you do.
And you have to be comfortable rushing and making shots and making plays. So, you know, I always tried to just challenge the agenda and just push the agenda in that way. So, you know, every year I, as you said, made a leap. And, you know, at the end of it all, to be on that magazine cover was dope. You know, like we said, Mississauga wasn't in Peel region in general.
No.
We were always looked at as kind of like soft, you know,
Yep.
even though we had a lot of skilled players. And at this point, I think we've produced the most
NBA players. Yeah, that's okay. But, you know, they don't want to give us credit for that.
But
It's fine, though. It's all right.
You know,
It's all right.
Peel region forever.
That's right.
For sure,
And it's funny
you know?
that people from Hamilton and Vaughan, all of a sudden they're from Toronto.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is.
You know what I'm saying? So I know, you know, it was definitely a honor to be considered, you know, one of the people to be gracing that cover of that magazine. So
No, you can be blunt, talk your shit. It's
No,
fine.
you
You
know,
could be one. You could say you're one of the best.
For sure.
Yeah.
And but humbly, I knew there was always more. You know, that's always been the mindset. So, you know, it was dope. And not getting to go D1, we kind of touched on that. That was kind of, you know, as we say, that undersized thing. You know, we say the film and not being, you know, having enough, say, film against maybe a level of competition that's respected. At the time, there was no prep where you're getting, you know, grind session, so you're getting to match up against the number one pick. I'm seeing AJ DeBansta down here playing last year against Fort Erie, against Royal Crown, against, you know what I mean? So that wasn't a thing where you could really show what you can do. So, you know, I know my size was always something that was questioned. You know, I had a high school teammate that actually made it to the NBA, a big man, Andrew Nicholson, one of the best to ever do it from our side. And, you know, he brought a lot of attention to me and it gave me the opportunity to actually be recruited, which was great because I feel like those people wouldn't have seen me otherwise. So, you know, to even be considered and have some offers on the table, you know, that I decided, you know, maybe it's not the best route. You know, staying home was a decision that I feel like made the most sense just because what was to come was things like my nephew. I have a nephew who plays and he wouldn't have gotten to see me play, and I think he's going to take the game further than I ever could, of course. So being home, you know, as it was at the time seemed like a disappointment. I feel like it just happened and worked out for the bigger picture and the bigger plans, you know. Introduced him to the game, and, you know, I looked at it as a thing where, you know, this is where I'm supposed to be.
You could have gone anywhere, though. Why York?
York was interesting. Toot was a guy that went to Father Gates, Toot Roch, as I touched on earlier. He was all Canadian. You know, we kind of walked the same path. I ended up being an all Canadian out of high school, and he was recruited by American schools, but, you know, it was always question marks. And
always.
It was a make or break situation, whereas, like, you know, if he stayed here, it was like, this is just going to make him. I kind of followed his path. I will be honest, I wish I fully didn't, you know, because I do have thoughts about, like, you know what, I should have tested the waters for sure. But I know everything, as I said, worked out as it should.
Yeah.
So
But every now and then you have a thought.
Every now and then I'll have a thought, like, you know, I should have, you know, getting to York, my first game was against NC State.
Okay.
You know, and
Was Alex Johnson there?
no, he wasn't there.
Okay.
He wasn't there. He was still at, I think, Cal State. Santa Barbara. Where was
saying
he
it,
at?
yeah.
Bakersfield? Cal Bakersfield.
I think it was Cal Bakersfield.
But my first game was against NC State, and I think I had 17-7, 0 turnovers. And I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, like,
I could do this.
I could do this. But like I said, I ended up where I ended up for a reason. I followed Toot's path, kind of, and, you know, I trusted it. And like I said, at this point, I don't think it should have gone any other way with just the things that are happening in life around me and, you know, who was able to be introduced to the game in the way that they were. So bigger picture.
So during that time, Gates, York, how much did basketball shape your sense of self?
Wow, it's identity, really.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Basketball kind of gave me an overall personality. As you know, we talked about the depression, we talked about things like that. And, you know, I growing up naturally had, you know, a shyness or an introverted tendency about me, where, you know, I wasn't as social. I wasn't, you know, I kind of keep to myself. And basketball kind of gave me, you know, a lot more confidence, of course, gave me a chance to, you know, form relationships that I don't think I normally would have.
No.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it like I said, it was a brotherhood, but it gave me a confidence, shaped personality, taught me a whole lot just about, you know, the discipline, the focus, the sacrifices. It made me learn how to grind, like I said, in whatever area, because I couldn't have one without the other. You know, if I was going to be disciplined on the basketball court, it transferred over to how I was in the academic side of things. You know, just it was excellence. You want to pursue excellence in everything. So I feel like basketball just made me, you know, understand how to want to be the best version of myself overall.
And up until this point, would you say that you've done that? Would York and Gates David be proud of the person sitting here right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I say that just having gone through things we've gone through, like we say, pivots, you know, from playing to not playing to being in this position, you know, using the game in the way I'm using the game. Just the life I've kind of created for myself, if you want to say.
You have. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say my younger self will be happy. And be proud.
Imagine if you said no. That's kind of like a rhetorical question. Imagine you're like, I'm not proud of myself at all. That'd be hilarious.
There's always more, though. You know,
Yeah,
you're not
of course,
satisfied.
of course.
There's always more. The foot's still on the gas.
You know, I want to ask you a question I asked myself.
Yeah.
Did playing in Canada ever make you feel underrated or overprepared?
A little bit of both. The underrated for sure. You know, and I could say that about you because, you know, obviously you end up doing the whole pre-draft process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we're talking about me, but I'm straight up going to talk about you because I remember watching that video. Like, I remember watching your a couple 40s you had at U of T. I remember watching these videos, like watching you thinking like, yo, this guy is a Division I player.
Well,
You understand what I'm saying? So alongside a lot of other players.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching Manny Pasquale the other day.
Come on, bro. That guy,
I was watching
Laurentian
Manny.
legend.
I was
Yo,
watching-
that guy was nasty.
I was watching
and
Manny
his brother.
Pasquale highlights the other day.
Yo.
Like, this guy has one of the best triggers I've ever seen.
Hands down,
You know what I
bro.
mean? So there were a lot of players that I could say, you know, playing at this level, they were viewed as underrated, you know, because they're talented players, you know, but it's just the recruitment, you know, things being the way they are now, the structure of basketball in Canada now, GTA, you know, specifically Ontario, if you want to say, the OSBA, the NPA also, but, you know, obviously Ontario is where it's at. It's just a lot more opportunity to be seen.
Yeah.
So I just know it was just a phase or a stage in the development of, you know, basketball in our country to put people on a platform. So, you know, you feel underrated for sure, because there are the select few that ended up getting to go, but again, there were certain politics in basketball that we didn't understand and didn't know, and we weren't getting ourselves in front of the right people as well. So, you know, your support, your guidance, your, you know, people that are rooting for you and vouching for you, it's different. So, you know, there's a lot more of that now. You know, thankfully, there's people in positions that, you know, have built relationships south of the border that are able to, you know, put these kids and highlight these kids that have all the ability, you know. So, for sure. And the overprepared side, without a doubt. You know, I was laughing the other day, you know, because after every game, one of my things I would do was I would shoot.
Really?
Every home game. Didn't matter if I played really, really good. Didn't matter if I played really, really bad. I was obsessed with getting my reps up. So I could have had, you know, I could have missed 3 shots, had 38. It didn't matter. I'm changing my stuff, going back up, and I'm shooting.
Wow.
And I remember one of the coaches telling me, you got to stop doing this. And I was just like, for what? He's like, well, it gives the wrong impression. What's the impression? What if you can't do this on the road? Like, it's going to throw you off. I said, listen, well, when I can do it, I'm taking the opportunity.
Right.
Because, work is work. Yeah. And if there's an opportunity to work.
Yeah.
Very simple, and just seeing people trying to deter that and stop me, I wasn't really okay with it. So, I was the break in the gym type of guy. So I was going to find a way. So that definitely made me feel like I'm not supposed to be here, because
that would never happen in the States.
No way.
Yeah.
They're pushing you to get in.
Yeah.
They call it optional, but it's not optional. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those. And I created that. That wasn't an option for me. I created my own non-negotiables. And, I don't think much others had non-negotiables. I don't think much others watched their games right after they finished, the good, the bad, the ugly, to step outside themselves and look at themselves from a different lens and really want to improve.
Yeah.
With nobody in their corner telling them how to, just that's hunger. So
do you still do that in your day-to-day life? Like,
absolutely.
Have you taken that with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From, the training perspective, now what I do now, I'm critical of myself and I'm hard on myself.
Yeah.
You got to be a perfectionist in everything that you do. If you're making edits, you're doing film. If you missed out something that was crucial or critical for a player to study or something that, they needed for their matchup and you didn't prepare them, you have to take that on yourself. And it's accountability. And I think that's what it's all about. Accountability for yourself. You got to practice what you preach and be on it and disciplined and focused and diligent and all that is, that's what you're demanding from those around you,
right?
In the position I'm in. So I've embodied it. I've lived it. I obviously wish I could be in the gym getting reps that I'm giving other people. I loved it. I felt like I couldn't miss when I was getting that type of reps.
Right.
And it's like I said, it's a different hat you're wearing now and a different walk. So just still trying to be disciplined, still trying to be thorough, still trying to be detailed in everything I do. And like I said, wanting to be the best.
I feel that. We're going to get to the training in a second. What's a feeling from basketball that you can't get back?
Oh man. Well, we know father time, physically we can't.
Yeah.
The feeling of, that push off, that burst, that's obviously something we can't get back, but
I never had that. So
I definitely,
you did.
I still kind of can move like that. It's just, just not for extended periods of time, but
right.
One feeling that you can't get back, for me, no, like I said, that competitive rage almost that I had, like, I don't think I can get that back. Like, I was the type that you bust my lip open, like, I'm good, we're still playing. Like, bounce my head off the floor. It's unfortunate, like concussions. I tried before to play through one, and it's the stupidest thing. Like, I will never be that dumb again.
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Playing through the injuries and stuff, that ultimate warrior, hard to kill mentality on the court, I will not get back. Because, like I said, mobility and being able to feel good and move and function, those things are important. And, injuries obviously are part of the game. And I think that those experiences with injuries kind of made me realize now, later in life, like, play your hardest, but like, don't die on the floor. You know?
Yeah. Even though that was your mentality.
Even though that was.
But
the
I think
mentality.
that was the time. Like, what coaches would tell you, like, don't go on your knees when you're tired.
Yep.
And now there's science behind people who bend over, so you actually breathe more. So
we also liked Iverson. We liked Kobe.
Yeah. You guys
we liked the guys that were playing through
anything. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
That's a different generation, right?
Me, I would say the best feeling for me was knowing or shooting a basketball and like there's like maybe 0.2 or 3 seconds between when the ball leaves my hand and it goes. And I've said this before, when the ball goes in the basket, that time in between where only I know it's going in the rim, So like when the ball comes off my fingers and I start running back or walking backwards and it's like I'm waiting for everyone else to catch up to what I already know.
Yep.
So like that feeling I can't recreate.
For sure.
It's when I scrimmage, when I'm playing now, it's cool, but like you can't do that with 20,000 people watching you,
100%.
And it's like, especially when the shot matters and it's like everyone just watching the ball go like that. And in my head, I'm like, I already know. I'm just waiting for you guys to catch up.
And you were a road killer.
Yeah.
Like, so it was even better if it's deflating.
I know.
I think another, to add to it, I guess, is like, as you said, whereas I'm saying like the deflating feeling on the road, maybe hitting like a game winner
and shutting everybody
up.
Oh,
that feeling
bruh.
is also one that I know, because you were this guy. You were this guy too. Before anyone was doing this one, this guy just watched too much Kobe and T-Mac.
I was, bro. I actually, I was laughing with my boys because we were talking about how, like, my last year playing for Canada, I got cut.
Yeah.
This is 2018. I didn't make the team, and I was pissed, bro. I fucking cried and shit. I was so mad. And then my friends were like, well, the people that were making those decisions, what did you used to do when you played against them? So, and then my boys were like, well, I remember one game you told the coach you hit a jumper and they called timeout. And he's like, yeah, you better fucking call timeout. He's like, he's gonna keep happening the next possession. And then he's like, yo, you called the coach a bitch. I'm like, okay, well then this is why you got cut. Like not because you weren't good enough. He's like, you're just an ass. Like you're doing dumb shit on the floor to people.
That's not dumb. That's just part of the game.
Part of the game, man. Yeah. And that was my chip. Like I was tall, skinny. Remember my high school coach told me I was a tweener, which is why I started liking T-Mac, was because he was the only person I saw that kind of had the same mold, where it's like, well, I want to tailor my game after this guy. Yeah. You know, and like I remember high school, you were the first person I saw with the T-Max with the strap and the wood in the back.
Those were
crazy.
The ones.
Yeah, I remember those, bro.
Goodness, that was a good year.
And it was 11 on your jersey, so you had 11 in the back, and you had the white ones.
Yes,
I had the black and red.
Yes, you did.
I got those for Christmas.
Yes,
I still have those, in the box.
My mom got those in storage.
My
writing all. I got so many in my ball kick storage. Your mom too, right?
My mom.
Only way.
I have them in my parents' house in the box. I'll never get rid of those. I got them for Christmas. Parents got me those shoes, bro. I'll never ever get rid of those shoes, bro.
For sure.
Those T-Max.
That definitely was your mold, bro.
Yeah,
and it's funny, like, again, just as we talk about like developing and being later bloomers and stuff, like if we looked at the way that you played the game or myself played the game, if we were playing right now,
I know, bro.
It's like someone identifies early, let's work on this guy's body. Let's get him strong. Let's make sure he's all these things.
Who knows?
Who knows? Because that's the way I see it. Because I would have
some NIL money right now.
I remember like your rise like this too. You know what I mean? Because after high school, it was like, we can kind of get into him. We can kind of bump him a little bit.
Yeah.
We can't bump him no more. You know what I mean? So it's like, if those things happen early, it's just like, man, that's the difference. That's the difference now. You know what I mean? So it's good to be a part of, like I said, the change, because there's players like, I'm telling you, they have no idea those before them. Yeah. And, there's a lot of homage that got to be paid. So,
Well, remember, quick story. Now we're talking about this, and I'm going to ask you one more question about your fondest memory of basketball. But you remember when you brought me to YMCA to play Dillon for the first time? Oh, yeah. You remember what happened?
Absolutely. I told you what the mission was. You knew what the mission was. I'm bringing certain players to go destroy.
So I drive from Brampton. You tell me to come play this kid. You drive from Brampton. I go to Mississauga. There's the two courts side by side. We're at the back left corner. I'll never forget. The entrance is here. We're at the back left corner. You're working out Dillon. We play, and you tell me he's going to Oregon, and I lose my mind. I said, there's no fucking way this guy's going to Oregon. There's no way. He's not even remotely close to good enough. Now
I remember.
Now I'm seeing Dillon Brooks on TV. Not only, I don't care what nobody says. You don't have to like him. You don't have to like him. But that guy is a difference maker anywhere he goes.
Anywhere.
On both ends of the floor.
Absolutely.
And it's really cool to see that time when we from where he was, and you said, and I'll give it to you. You said, "Yo, no, he's gonna be good. Like you have to wait." And I'm like, "There's no way."
No, for sure. And I think it also, like I said, you were also that good, bro. And he was also 17, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
You're a pro now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we got to remember, at the same time, but he didn't back down. This is the thing.
No, he didn't.
It's funny because I remember bringing Richard Amarty, around to do the same thing. And, all of us kind of did that to those young boys, that group of the young guys to kind of prime them, But I do remember that specifically. And, when he went to Oregon, obviously the development just, it goes even more.
Super fast.
He went from Card to crossing the border early, going to Finlay, then he continued to get better. So, and he was always so competitive. So it was only a matter of
And
time.
had a motor.
And exactly.
And has and still does to this day, man. I don't
Exactly.
care when Dillon the villain, man.
Yeah, for
Shout out
sure.
Dillon.
Shout out to DB.
What is your fondest memory of basketball?
Wow. Fondest memory. There's a couple. I can't say there's one. Honestly, I have to go with this one game in high school. I have to.
Hopefully it's not against us.
No, it's not.
Okay, thank God.
It's not. It's not.
Tell the story then.
Yeah, for sure. It has to be that game. There was a game against St. Edmund Campion, Rob's Finals. This would have been like 2008. I can never. I think this has to be its fondest memory because it was like just you did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But also just the challenge was so great, and
Yeah.
it wasn't supposed to go that way.
Right.
But that game, the final game, we're in Brampton at Sheridan. And I know, we're prepping for OFSA because we're in. Once you make it, you're in OFSA.
You're in.
So we know. So, a lot of people are there to watch. You see, I think Eastern was there watching. I know a couple other teams were there watching. So, you got to perform. So I remember coming out the game, like right out the gates, like I think I had first 7 and they called timeout and I'm barking at their crowd, barking at their bench, go to the bench and they come back and they throw punches. Like they come at us. And I remember going down, in the second quarter, I probably didn't score again after that first 7. And I remember my brothers being on the sideline.
They were loud.
My brothers, one of the other OGs, just the guys in the community that, they didn't teach you how to play, but they taught you how to play. Mm-hmm. How to play. They challenged the dog in the fire. So I remember him just saying that I'm playing like a pussy and, excuse my language, just telling me all type of things where, just trying to challenge me. And that was his way of getting me to go because I was the type that could handle that and it would get me to go. Because like I said, it was a rage that had to be channeled. And I remember the ref actually saying, do you want me to send them out? I said, pardon? Send them out? I need them here. Like, hell no, let's play. So the game went on, and I remember going down, I think, by 11 points in the third quarter, 10 points in the third quarter, because, they just kept going. They were a scrappy team. They were a fast team. We had a big Andrew Nicholson, so, sometimes they would run on us. Him young, sometimes, he would get fouled, hacked. He wouldn't get back, so they hit 3 after 3. I remember 1-3 going in, and we go back, score. They go down. One of our guys takes a guy out the air, like fouls him hard, flagrant. He's out the game. He's one of our starters. So now we're down a man, and you're thinking like, things are tough. Your back's against the wall. And I think I scored 16 points in a row, something like that. And I just remember 12 to 16 points in a row. I just remember like there's a switch going off where it was like, I can do anything. Mm-hmm. I can do anything. There's nothing that's gonna, and that game specifically, it's funny, at halftime, I remember going to my mom while we're walking out like to our locker room, and my mom was standing there like just with her penny shaker. She would have a bottle.
My mom used to have that too.
The bottle. She'd put the water bottle with the pennies in the bottle.
Yeah.
And she'd be shaking the penny shaker. And I remember just going up to her and just hugging her and just holding her for like 2 seconds, letting go of her and walking to the locker room. And then when I came back up for the second half, like I said, we went down, but then when it was time to just morph into that guy, it was like, I can't miss. I cannot miss.
It was
nothing.
mom's hug,
Threes, middies, at the rim, floater, and one. Didn't matter. Step back. It didn't any type of bucket. It was just going down, and the game opens up, and then, you end victorious, and it's just that high, coming down from that high was just so crazy because I felt like I was in like almost like a superhero mode. Yeah. And it was funny, like doing that crown shoot just specifically, and I know you have the same mindset. I just remember being around people like DeVoe and, shout out him, like just challenging my mindset and my, approach to the game because, you admire these people from a distance,
exactly.
Even though they're your competitors,
Right.
I looked at those guys like Keaton Cole as people that, you want to be like, you want to chase them, you want to be better than them.
That's right.
Corey Joe, like they were the challenge,
That's right.
So I just remember being at the shoot with this guy and him saying like, the best feeling is going into video game mode. That's what he said specifically.
DeVoe?
Yeah, he said
he dope,
said
man.
video game mode, and I remember him saying it, and I was just staring at him like,
What is that?
This guy is a sicko. What is that? what does that even mean?
Yeah. Well, I've been there a few times.
Yeah, but I never played no video games, so I didn't really understand it. But like, I'm not a big video game guy, but a big video game guy. But I understood what he meant. Like, just truly, it just was crazy to hear that from somebody. You know what I mean? And then now you get older, you're like, nah, I understand what that was.
You're in the
video
Matrix.
Game. Yeah,
exactly.
You're the Matrix, untouchable, Midas touch. Everything is
Midas touch.
Exactly.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? For real. So no, for sure. That probably was one of those most memorable games, and then. Injury game is always a memorable one too.
Injury game,
you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did the athlete version of David Tyndale die?
So you want to know how that happened?
I would all love to know.
Hey, so injuries are part of the sport.
Yeah, we know. You're talking
to.
Yeah,
yeah, I was there when one of your injuries actually.
Yeah, the day after.
The day after.
It was
Laurentian.
Laurentian.
Yeah, no, but the
in Brampton.
Yeah,
you were there. You and
there.
Justin. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
That's actually crazy.
The day after.
Yeah.
So, about injuries. But I had a injury free for the most part career up until playing professionally. I came out of York. I didn't really have something right away. It was a weird struggle for me with representation.
But you knew you wanted to go play pro.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
And I had options. I had people that were like coming to me with pitches, but I didn't really have an agent.
Okay.
So at the time it was just like all like just take opportunities that are given. So I remember doing little things, going to China, playing in different environments, playing against top talent over there, and realizing like, yo, I'm good. Like I'm nice. So it's just a matter of time. And then getting my opportunity in the NBL, signed with Brampton A's. During that preseason, it was interesting. Like I had a couple injuries. I had a concussion actually during that preseason, which I recovered from, and recovered from it as season starting. So now you're fighting your way back.
Right.
We had like 6 guards, and I just remember, just going from being someone who I thought, I'm the first guard they signed, I'm a priority, to now you have this injury you're climbing back from. You are at the bottom of the totem pole. Mm-hmm. You have to fight all your boys to really like get on the court. Mm-hmm. And, the first couple of games was, low minutes. And I remember just picking guys up full court and just getting myself back on the floor. Not that I wasn't a defender, but that was something that I knew I had to do at a high level if I wanted to play. So I embodied it. I'm picking up full court, slowly get more minutes. And then there was a game where, we're playing actually in Mississauga, which was crazy. And, first game back in Mississauga, I'm playing guys like Toot Roch. I'm playing guys like Alex Johnson, playing guys that I, again, like I said, looked up to, grew up with, strive to be like and better. Mm-hmm. Those were my standards, if you want to say. And not sure if they knew that, but those were my standards, both of them for real.
They do now.
They do now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember going to that game, just thinking as soon as I get in, I'm about to be on it. Like I said, picking up guys full court, pushing tempo. I'm going to be on it. I think my first play I got an and one and got a tech right away. And fucking what?
Yeah.
Screaming. Screaming. I remember Richard Amarty was with me, and he grabbed me off the floor, and we got the tech. I'm like, I don't even care. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I was in the mode again. You know what I'm saying? And then, from that game, it was like my best game as a pro yet at this point.
Okay.
I'm shooting the ball well. I'm taking on ball charges. I'm being disruptive. I feel like I can get anywhere I want. And late in that game, right wing, I jab. Brent Jennings comes, sets me a side ball screen, slips the screen. So they kind of jump at my first dribble, and I go left, and he slips the screen. So I kind of jump and pass it to him. He slips, he gets a dunk. As I'm landing, as I'm coming down, I felt like a grind in my knee.
Left, right?
Left knee. It was just a weird feeling. And, from there, it kind of, I knew something was up, and, I had to, take myself off the court. I walked myself off the court and, took myself to a clinic and, tried to get imaging done. Eventually found out it was a full meniscus tear.
Which you had already, or just from that?
Just from that day. Because after that, I couldn't walk. I couldn't run.
That movement.
That movement. It was freakish,
Okay.
And had to get some imaging done. Eventually, got surgery, and just to say, not everybody's body responds well to surgery. Not every surgery, goes and gives you the full, strength back.
Not every surgeon does a great job.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
So it's like it's one of those things that are part of it, and. The journey back was one of those ones where, you get yourself back on the floor, but if things, aren't necessarily as they should be, and things don't feel like they are ever going to be as they should be, and you're getting certain advice and different opinions. I was getting expert opinions where it was like, you might need a knee replacement in a couple of years if you keep this up, just with the damage that had been done. So it was kind of like one of those things where I kind of had to, sit back with myself and realize, I could take a year off and keep doing this, or I can, just sit back and figure something else out. And, in that time, I took time off and, stepped away from it and realized, like I said, I don't know if this is all the way going to be, part of my basketball story, me playing as much, just with how, as I said, my body was responding. And I kind of had to just, unfortunately, kind of just have a different relationship with the game. And not that I hung them up completely. I was still doing a little bit of like men's league here and there. But as I said, if you can't work the way you want to work and prepare the way you want to prepare, it's tough to settle for being mediocre when that's the furthest thing that I ever wanted to be after being cut. Once you get cut early and you understand what it feels like to be at the bottom, and then you differentiate, if you want to say, and just separate yourself from everybody. Everybody's doing this, I'm doing this. I used to get made fun of by my friends for wanting to get up 500 in the summer.
Yep.
Every day.
Yep.
I was going at 6.
Yep.
I had a thumb flip on my shot. I'm going in the gym, getting a quarter, putting it between my hand.
I used to
Coach
do
Tony,
this.
I'm doing all that. I'm taping my hand. I'm doing all this stuff to try to make myself better. If I can't do that extra work and I can't go back to the gym and get my extra work to make myself better because I am an average height man.
Yeah.
I am not blessed to be 7 foot or any of those things. Because I know that I need to be sharper, I need to be more precise, I need to be tighter with my handle, my shot needs to be more accurate. Because I know I need time to put more extra work and I can't do that, I don't want to play. It was one of those things, and it's tough because even now it's like, my friends be playing sometimes, and there's times where I want to play and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even here to hear this shit talk if you guys even have my upper hand on me, because you know what I am.
Yeah.
You know the type of person I am, what I'm saying, and what I'm about. So I just kind of had to, like I said, kind of step away from it in that capacity and step back into it in a different capacity. So
you went overseas for you went to China, you went to a few different places. You played for maybe a year and a half.
Yeah, year and a half. I had the injury like my first year, came back, tried again, and it was like I felt like I was robbed a bit, if you want to say. So it was cut short. It was basically a quarter of a season, then another half of a season, if that.
Right. And
from there, like I said, it feels like you underachieve. You look at yourself sometimes as a failure. That's where the depression and all that stuff sets in.
Which you did.
Yeah. It's tough because you put so much pain into something and everybody sees you in a certain light. It's like, now who are you?
Yeah.
Now what is my identity? Now what do I stand for? And those times are the hardest. You hit the lowest lows.
And one of the toughest parts about that is when people are like, "Yo, just keep going. You're so good." Like, "Yo, what are you doing? No, you're young." Like,
they don't know what you're feeling.
And but you're not in it though.
Yeah.
You're not living it. And I'm trying to build something, but my body is doing this. I'm mentally trying to go this way. My body's going that way. Or I don't have the right opportunities to keep going. And the NBL is not, I promise you, they're not paying you life-changing money.
No.
So,
no.
It's how do you justify that? And it's like, yeah, you do it for the love, but then when you can still love the game. You can still do that. But then when that's done, who's going to be there to stick your hand out? Which is how we're going to get into the next phase of this, is after your pro experience, what did you do? Like, how did you go from that person to Details Matter? You're now training Stauskas, Nicholson. You're now Dillon Brooks. Like I see the grams. I see the private jets and the and the SUVs. And I'm not saying that because it's like no. It's like I'm saying that because it's really good to see. Like you've used the game and it's brought you to a place where this is what you've probably wanted for yourself in a different way, but now you just have it in another capacity, which is the point. Right, that's the beauty of the transition.
And this is for anybody like in it right now playing. I think the number one thing is, like, you know, young kids that are playing, guys that are pro right now, guys that are college, whatever it is, I think, you know, the obsession and the excellence that you pursue on the court, you just have to let that trickle into other areas of your life. And like, you just have to. And when I say that, it means simple things like, you know, if it's academic, take your academics here. If it's your cleanliness,
Yeah.
you know, I'm serious.
Some
Like how
deodorant?
tidy, no, seriously, like how often you groom your room, how clean you keep your room, like your car, like just cleanliness, things like that. Like in every area, if you want to say, just pursue excellence, be a better friend, be a better partner, be a nicer person. Just try to be better in every area. Let that, like I said, that same discipline just transfer over to other areas of life, because I think when it's all said and done, people don't realize, and they need to realize, that the game is not forever. You playing is not forever. So the things that the game is able to teach you has to come forth in other areas. Whatever venture avenue that you take, it has to come forth. So, you know, I think the number one thing, like for me, I've always had a good foundation, and, you know, I had other things that I poured into.
Yeah.
And like I tried in other areas. I understood how to put effort in areas that just weren't this sport, this fun game. You know, there's people that only can put effort into that thing, that game, and in other areas of life, they're just, well, I don't really care.
Would 15-year-old David listen? If 15-year-old David was watching this right now, would he listen to what you just said? Okay.
That's what I lived then.
Okay.
I've always been a perfectionist. I think I wanted to try to be really good at anything I was doing.
Okay.
You know, I never wanted to do something and not be good at it. That just was my mentality, and I think that's what most people feel with basketball. Don't play if you want to be shit. I don't think you should be playing. Just say that, right? You play to be good,
right?
So that's what I'm saying. Like the practice, the effort, the
and
time.
that comes with a cost.
Yes. It's all sacrifice, you know, and that's why I say I don't play no video games. I never played no video games. I didn't do that because growing up, I had to put my time into school. Yeah. I don't care to be a good video game player.
Yeah.
That's not what I cared for.
Right.
I cared about the things that I wanted to be good at that are going to give me something and help me. So I think, you know, just people adopting that mentality a little bit more, maybe, you know, just having other interests and other things that they, you know, they can read about, you know, spend time on, you know, master.
Yeah.
I think those things are important. Like I said, I used to draw a lot, and it focused my energy in different areas, like realism sketching. And that was my thing. I got a crazy Kobe picture. I don't know if you've seen that. I drew Kobe's I got to find that for you. I'll show you that.
Please send me that.
You know, but those were things that I found just shaped a different part of my, you know, my brain and just my love for other things, if you want to say. So it kind of helped me just look at life from a different perspective. But, you know, for anyone that's still transitioning from basketball, being connected to basketball just in a different light, it's important. You know, people need to hear your story. People need to know that, you know how you've approached the game, and you need to give that back, especially if you have a lot to give. I find, and I felt like, you know, I had a lot to give back to the game.
Absolutely.
You know, I became who I was as a player. If I could say on my own, I had obviously people that I admired and looked to and took gems from, but I pushed myself, and I felt like I was someone who was like really in the gym and kind of created the beast that I was, yes, you know, and
absolutely.
For me, it just the work ethic wins. You know, work ethic always wins in whatever area it is. And I try to give people that understanding, and, you know, getting into the situation of coaching young, training kids young, you know, kids are more impressionable, and, you know, as we said, fun is what it's all about for them. So the more people transition getting into coaching, and there's so many coaching opportunities, whether it's rep, you know, you want to get involved with CBL, like they're looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
At this point in the game, like there are platforms that you can get involved. You know, now I'm working with Canada Basketball. We're looking for volunteers and people that can get involved. You know what I mean? So in the end of the day, I think the fact that there's more people, you know, like us, if you want to say, in these positions, you know, getting your foot in those doors, you know, it's not as hard, and it makes the transition easier. You know, if you want to stay connected to the game, especially, it makes that transition easy, you know. And if you don't want to, just cold turkeying it, not the way to go. Staying connected, it'll help you kind of just slowly ease your way out of it. You know, it's a beautiful game. It's the best sport in the world, and I can go on and on about it. So let me stop talking.
For those who don't know what do you do? So,
you know, at this point, I develop, I train, I have a training business, Details Matter. I work with, you know, youth as young as 8, 9 years old, soon to be younger. Got some stuff in the works, all the way up to, you know, professionals playing at the highest level all over NBA, Europe, Asia, anywhere, you name it, college players, university here, there, wherever. I develop at a high level, and I've got an opportunity to work with Canada Basketball. I run their training center, their summer development program, do stuff with them throughout the year, of course, but the summer, mainly, that's what I'm in charge of, just making sure the guys have a good place to work in the off season, and we create an environment that's conducive of us trying to medal. Ultimately, that's what this is about: growing the game in our country, and just trying to see us be more successful, produce more pros. So
yeah,
I'm in that light right now, just trying to grow the game.
And you've built a whole business around that now. That's
Yeah.
not something you had. So are you the trainer that you needed growing up?
Oh man, for sure.
And why is it important? Because it's a big business,
For
and not
sure.
everyone is a good trainer. So what makes a good trainer? What makes a great trainer?
Oh man, so training is like there's so many approaches to training, and everyone has their own method to their madness. And I'm not going to sit here and knock anyone's method to their madness, but it's not one size fits all. Let's just say that. And I think the number one thing is being personable and being someone who can connect with the people you're working with is the first thing to being a good trainer, or a great trainer, I'd say. Because if you can't connect and you have good drills and good this and good understanding of the game, and you can't connect, you really can't be a great trainer. So the number one thing is be able to connect, and the understanding of the game and the knowledge of the game, and knowing what is needed for each person. That is something that comes from just simply understanding, studying, and loving the game. I'm not going to sit here and say players that didn't play or trainers that didn't play can't train. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of players that didn't play at a high level, that are phenomenal trainers. I know some, and there's players that played at a high level that maybe, growing in their training journey, they're not maybe where people would think they are yet. But, it's a part of just being a student of the game, and I think, as I said, everyone has their method to their madness. Mine is my method. I'm very fiery. I'm all about accountability. I'm all about, details, small nuances, because, the masters, when it comes to masters, everyone plays, everyone trains, but any master, if you're looking at fighting, for example,
It's all in the details.
it's all in the details. There's certain mannerisms and nuances. I remember growing up watching a lot of kung fu movies, and I remember like drunken master fighting style.
Chan.
And I remember one of my best friends saying when he saw me play the first time when we were young growing up, he's like, the DT plays like drunken master. Like he'll go like slow, and then all of a sudden, bah, and then he's out of there. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's that kind of approach. So like I said, those are the nuances I've always respected and I've always appreciated about the game. Like being able to nudge someone before you pick up, the angle you drive. How is Iverson able to push a guy that weighs 40 pounds, 50 pounds heavier than him? How is he able to push him off balance and get to his midi?
That's a good question.
How was he able to do that? I need to know. I need to figure that out. I need to be able to hit the guy the right way. Everyone called that Jordan push-off a push-off.
Wasn't a push-off.
On Brian Russell, but my art of my game was creating space.
That's right.
So I always appreciated those little details to allow you to create more space. So, and then now as you get older, and for me, growing my training journey and growing in my training journey, I've had to study more nuances. I never played the post. And some of my players have developed on a high level from the post. In the post, and their efficiency in the post is, the tools that they have are at a high level, and that all comes from film. Mm-hmm. That all comes from studying. So, being able to go out of your comfort zone and the realm that you can't think that you know enough, because we never know enough. There's always more.
Yeah.
So I watch film too much. I won't say how much, but just too much. And, that's kind of helped me continue to see things from the right angle. And it also shows what's valuable on the court. A lot of trainers spend time doing things that don't make sense. They don't make sense because, it doesn't transfer to maybe the floor spacing, to the situations that the players are going to be in, the position that they're playing on the floor, the style of offense the team runs. Like there's so many factors that play into things, and then also just they're physical. And not everyone has the same abilities, so you can't give everybody the same tools.
Right. It's
just a reality. So you gotta do a better needs analysis and know what's the most important thing for this player right now to go out on the court and be more effective tomorrow. I think that's how I think. If you see me today, if you go and play a game tomorrow, you have to feel like you're better than you were yesterday, and you got some shit that you might bring out that's going to make you more of a weapon.
if your job is to train people and they don't succeed, do you take that personally? Is that a reflection of you?
Yes and no. Yes and no. You can bring the horse to the water, but you can't force it to drink, right? Like that saying, cliche as it is a fact. Not everyone has it. And it is, not just the physical, because there's some people that have the physical, but they're soft, or they don't love it. They don't obsess over it.
Who has it that you've seen?
Well, just talking on a high level, let's just say Shea.
Oh yeah,
Alexander.
He's it. That is it.
And we say that because I don't know if people watch the starting five, but you hear snippets of these players and the things that they say. How they're obsessed over the game, how they're obsessed with development, how they love being in the gym, how they're never satisfied with the level they're at. There's a specific language that they use and the way they talk about things, and you could feel it, and if you don't have it, some players, again, they develop it a little bit later and at different times. That's one thing that also happens. But having it can be looked at in many ways. It is also like that dog and that fire, like we say the Dillon Brooks. That, like we say, warrior mentality, that, you're not backing down from anybody, and you are on that type of timing at all times, competitive as they come, and when the love for it even grows even more, as, I've seen it in him grow even more over these years, he's developing even more of it. You know what I mean? So it continues to grow in different ways, but I feel like different people's journeys kind of force them to develop it. I think as we talk about Shea, that trade that happened with him early in his career,
blessing,
it made him even more it. So it sometimes comes from a fire. So it's like I said, it's a blessing to see that there's these examples on our side of town. For these kids to model their stuff after and their mentalities after it. We talk about modeling the game, but I think modeling a mentality after somebody is more important than modeling the game after somebody.
Would you say then that if I want to become a basketball trainer, I want to get involved in this business, would you say that's more risky than being a player? Like how are you confidently building a business around this when your success is related on the essentially on the players being more successful? And if I'm newly retired, or if I'm someone who wants to get into this, how would you walk them through that? Because I remember when you started, and you weren't speaking in the same tone and the same the same verbiage that you're talking about now. So
no chance.
If I'm watching this, how do I get involved in doing what you do?
Start earlier than when you're done playing. Number one.
Start what earlier?
Start being involved with basketball, not playing. So you're on the floor, whether it's coaching, whether it's development, whether it's film, whether it's, being a big brother for another athlete, just helping people get better at basketball and help people understand more about basketball. Just put yourself in those rooms.
Right.
A little bit, build your own foundation, have your own camps, have whatever it is, because, I think once you lay the groundwork for something like that, having, a reputation in it, it's going to be easier when it's time to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
A lot of this for me has been word of mouth. A lot of it for me and me having success and being able to raise my price, if you want to say, has just been based on word of mouth and doing good work, but that took time. It didn't start right away. So
how long have you been doing this now?
I mean, to what capacity? Like just training a little bit?
Just training, like 10 years, no?
Yeah, like 10 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's when I first started, like when I stopped playing was about 10 years ago, 9 years almost. And I was starting to do this before I stopped playing. Because when I first got hurt, I realized but I already was naturally doing this because I was training my young guys, like the Dillons, like Elijah, like Naz, like Cody.
Like your nephew.
Like my nephew. I was always training, showing them how to play and teaching them little things I knew, just because it was like, shoot, whatever I can pass on to get you better tomorrow, like I said, let me give you something you could use, because no one really took my hand, or probably no one really took your hand and said, yo, this is how you should be doing this.
No, but YouTube. That was my trainer. YouTube.
Literally.
I used to watch YouTube and then go outside on the driveway and on the street and practice what I saw.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
pull up, YouTube.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The half crossover, YouTube. And I wish I had developed more skills.
Yeah.
You know, because I probably have about 4 real good moves.
No, it's funny. It's funny.
You know?
Like I was showing Corey. Because Corey loved the right to left hand cross.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, you go so wide after you do your hand cross. You never understood like how to just tighten up that angle. And I showed him like just the other day.
Okay.
He did a hand cross. I'm like, yo, just run into the guy and bump him. And he's like, oh man, like I wish I learned this. So it's funny, like just seeing obviously the growth of the game and just the way that, you know, I see it, the growth of the game for me. You know, it's never stopping. I'm learning something new every single day. You know, and that's the beauty of it. So, you know, for those, like I said, that are transitioning, as we said before, just, you know, there's a lot of opportunities to just get your foot in the door. And I'll say this, it's not just going to be instant gratification. There is a process, there is a journey, just like there is with playing. You don't pick up a ball and all of a sudden you're the best at every skill set. You have to practice. Right. So just with this training, this coaching thing, a lot of people think like, yeah, I played. I'm going to be in here and I'm going to do this now.
In 1 year.
No, you have to practice. The amount of times I've had to look myself in the mirror and talk to myself to get myself prepared to do sessions, to get myself to, you know, speak in a different voice or a different tone, be more calm and articulate for a day instead of getting frustrated and, you know, just getting myself prepped to be more patient, whatever it may be. Like there's always, you know, you have to better yourself every day. And, you know, I think just putting yourself in those spaces, former players, you know, there's a lot to be heard and a lot to give back. And, you know, as I said, I'm an open door type of person. If somebody reaches out to me and says, you know, I want to, you know, learn something, I want to come shadow something, or can I get involved and volunteer? Can I rebound? Can I just be around? My door is always open. So I do, you know, want people to you know, reach out and see opportunities like that for what they're worth, and you know, take it somewhere and trust the process, because it's not going to happen overnight.
Is there one skill or application for basketball that you've taken into the business world of training?
Accountability, I'd say, and
a good one.
And it's personal accountability that, you know, you have as a player, you know, and you know that accountability you want to instill in your players or the people that you work with. So whether it's while they're working out, you know, giving max effort when it's needed. You know, if we're working on a change of pace and we're going from 40 to 110, even though that's not possible, we are going from 40 to max effort. Don't leave any in the tank, because I want to work on your change of speed. If it's about our shooting and we're working on our balance and our, you know, our prep and all the in between and our finish, you know, I want low catch, I want hands ready, I want us sticking our finish and holding it up on the landing. I want that. And if it's going to drop, then I'm going to tell you about it.
Right.
And you have to also tell yourself, because I'm not always going to be there.
Exactly.
You know, so I try to really instill accountability, like while I'm working with the players, but also, you know, outside of that, giving them homework. And I'll know when you've done your homework. You know what I'm saying? You know when people have done their homework. So
you sound like a teacher.
But it's
that's exactly what
but I am a teacher.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
so it's just in that light. So I think that's the number one thing that I've taken, you know, for me as a player to give to what I do and to the players that I'm training now.
Let's compare your era, or our era, to where it is now. Is the game better than it is years ago?
Oh man, yes and no.
Please.
And the yes is there is so much more skill. Say so much more skill. No, I say so much more skill because there is some stuff that I'm even teaching right now. I'm like, if I had this,
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like bending the rules almost. Like there's types of footworks that guys are doing to create extra space for themselves, for example.
Yep.
You know, like the touch outs, and like guys are like Steph Curry sometimes looks like he's taking 5 steps to get away from a defender.
And he's not.
He's not.
Yeah.
Delayed pickups and all those small little details that, you know, you're bending the rules. It's also development of, you know, and the openness of the game. Refs have also changed the rules, you know, so there's things that they're allowing for entertainment. So I think from an entertainment standpoint, you know, it allows for much more creativity, which for me, you know, I look at that like, wow, that's better because my game was built a lot on creativity. Mm-hmm. From a toughness standpoint, from a competitiveness standpoint, I think the game, you know, the analytics, the amount of threes that are shot, there's certain things that have made the game softer, if you want to say. You know, I'm looking at guys, not to drop names, but there was a player I saw the other day.
Oh, dropping names.
No, I don't want to drop the name. I want to drop the name, but
As he drinks water.
there was a player. I was at a game recently, and I was like barking at them because, I'm yelling at the players to run him off the line. Run him off the line. He only shoots threes.
That's it.
And this guy, mind you, has a 40-plus inch vert.
Yeah, that's a waste.
So I'm sitting here like, this guy only shoots threes. Run him off the line. I'm barking at him, and just looking at the fact that you have those intangibles, and that's all you want to do on the floor. You're selling yourself short. One, two, just you're not respecting what you have, bro. Like you're not giving to the game what you really could give to the game. Put it on the floor. Go by someone, get to the rim, dunk on somebody. You know what I mean? It just, but like I said, just the volume of threes being shot. I feel like players have so much ability, but they're not showing their true ability, and it's becoming just who can make more threes,
which is ruining the game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. To me, it ruins the game. Like it has its plus, like for sure. It's a we want to just entertainment thing with high scores, and if that's what you pride yourself on, and it's also a business thing.
Yeah, I know.
Because you got to sell tickets. You need to keep the game fun, keep the game like I said, entertaining. So that's part of it. But to me, it just but you could drive that. Why are you shooting that?
Would you say that all the training and trainers at such a young age and the intensity in which it's happening is contributing to all the injuries? Because we've seen the most Achilles tears last season in the NBA. So I'm not saying that you're the reason for that, but I'm saying I'm asking in general, like, is that a real concern? Because why is that happening so much, right? Like, why are so many players? Because it kind of diminishes the brand.
It's funny, like, with the style of play and the way the game has changed, I don't feel that players are playing with more explosiveness, if you want to say. I actually think players, like we said, they're shooting more threes.
Yes.
So, like, this is a hot take, if you want to say, and I've actually never had this perspective before right now that I'm going to have right now, because every time we talk about it, we can always look at different things like, it's the AAU culture, it's it. They never stretched growing up. I mean, which is a fact, but part of it, I think, we don't see a certain side, but there's a side we don't see, which is lifestyle. We don't see how much these people are sleeping. We don't see who's drinking how much tequila.
Yeah.
We don't see who was out last night. We don't see that.
Yeah.
So it's pushed under the rug. There's players that are literally flying into places at 6 a.m. to go and party.
Facts.
There's players that doing that. Luckily for them, they haven't got hurt.
Yeah.
Some of them do it though. You know what I mean? So there's a side that we don't necessarily see, and then obviously with just how diet, we don't know how they're eating.
Which is very important.
There's players I'm around sometimes, like you have to remind make sure that guy gets some food, bro.
Yeah, honey buns and stuff. Ain't gonna cut it.
Make sure we eat the right stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that whether we like it or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
So I will only speak on what I can say, and I do think, from a habit standpoint, not everybody takes the time to do the little things like the foam rolling, the stretching, or having a personal person to, work on their bodies and stretch them out. Like, those are important things, having someone to take care of your body.
Absolutely.
And, with the recovery, it's tough because the lifestyle is, you play, you're in a town for a night, you either stay the night or you fly out right away. If you stay the night, you're going out.
For sure.
You're going having this, you're doing this, and then you got to fly out the next day, you get on the court. You should probably go out again that night.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as late at night because you play the next day, or you play that night. So it's reality. Like, the recovery side is just, you have to take care of yourself, and we don't know, because some of these guys have so much stuff going on. They got meetings in different cities. These are businessmen now.
Yeah.
These are not just basketball players. They got to meet with somebody. So you know what? I'm skipping stretch today. I'm just going to go to my meeting because I got a meeting with Google about da-da-da-da-da.
Which then adds up 6-7 games later when you get injured. This is the
reality that we don't know. So like I said, there's so much stuff behind the scenes that, can contribute. So, it's shitty to see, because, some of the best players are out right now, and make the game more entertaining. That's the league more entertaining. But, I think they if they didn't have a wake-up call then, they got one now.
Favorite player?
Oh, man. Right now?
No, all time.
All time? Oh, come on, that's easy. That's Jordan.
Greatest player of all time?
Jordan.
Current favorite player to watch?
Anthony Edwards, Jordan's son. That's all Jordan. It don't matter. Jotting. You know what I'm saying?
What's next for DT? How are you going to take details further?
Oh man, there's a lot in store, you know, just a lot to tap into. You know, I humbly know that there's more growth and things that I've, you know, in divine timing, in the right timing, I will, you know, dip my feet into, you know, whether it's, you know, programming like teams for my own self. And, you know, there's things in the works on a bigger picture, just, you know, in terms of space, and just there's a lot of things in due time.
Do you want to get to the NBA? Further,
you know what?
Further than you are.
You know what? Right now, I like flexibility. I like being able to, you know, be in, be out. You know, what I do, I can do stuff remote. I don't need to be where I am with players to work with players. I think I said film is an amazing tool. It's an amazing thing. You know, you have to study, and as long as you can provide a service, you know, you can be anywhere. So for me, just having the flexibility in this season of my life, you know, I want that for these next couple of years. You know, you never know where things go. So if there is an opportunity that opens up in the right time, and, you know, it makes sense, I'm not opposed to working in the NBA.
Makes sense and dollars.
What's up?
Makes sense and dollars.
Makes sense and dollars. That's not a lie. That is not a lie.
Well, to conclude, we have a game. It's called For Three. You can only answer the questions in one word or one sentence.
Oh my God. Drink some water.
So the first question is a one-word answer. So, a truth you learned from athletes you wish you learned from coaches. One word or one sentence.
A truth,
this one could be a sentence, actually.
A truth I learned
from
athletes
that you wish
like
you learned.
Me, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like my peers? Or
players that you've trained,
players that I've
like
trained.
the truth that you've learned from players that you wish you learned from coaches. I know, that's a good question.
The game is more beautiful when you're having fun playing it.
You never learned that from your coaches.
No.
You only learned that from athletes
Yeah, just seeing and observing.
and seeing how much fun they have with it.
When you have fun with it, the game is more beautiful. I don't think I had enough fun playing basketball.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Play with more joy. And
Yeah,
the game
yeah.
is more beautiful.
You know me. I was kind of expressive at
Yeah.
times, especially when I was hot.
Yeah.
And like coaches would be like, "You got to tone that down."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but I'm like, no, I actually should have been the opposite. Should have been more expressive. I should have had more fun because I'm only gonna do it for a certain amount of time, and then when it's done, I'm not like I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You know, I can't do this
Exactly.
anymore. And like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna close a sale at work and go like this. You know what I mean? Imagine. Can't do that shit anywhere else. Exactly. Imagine Imagine the Raptors win a game and I'm doing the broadcast.
Throw your
and
mic.
I'm like this.
Just
when
throw
they
your
win.
headset. Just throw that.
They hit a game winner and I'm like, yeah.
Standing on the table.
Come on, man. You can't do that no more.
Oh my goodness. No, for sure.
Don't kill me. Second one. One word answer. Is training an art or a science?
Science.
And you're artistic, so that one I know is difficult. Okay, can I ask why it's a science? This one you could actually talk about.
Science incorporates so much, you know, like biomechanics, for example, was probably my favorite kinesiology course I took. That studies movement. Movement is art. So, you know, if you want to call it art, types of movements and patterns.
Come on now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's art.
And if you look at patterns in biomechanics, the trajectory of a ball, you know, that path, that's art. You could look at certain things as art, if whatever type of perspective you have at the same time. So I think science overall, more than anything, I like to call myself a scientist, if you want to say, like a mad scientist in a way. And I think just the study of the body is so important, I think, when it comes to training. You don't want to overload. You don't want to do too much. Your transitions, the styles have to make sense because you have to think about energy systems. You have to think about recovery. You have to think about all those things because that's when injury happens. That's when, guys get hurt, or guys are losing too much weight, or you know what I mean, because things aren't tailored to what's really needed in the science of it. So I think definitely if I had to choose one, I'd say a science.
You spend so much. Last one. You spend so much time training. This is a 2-part question. So you spend so much time training others. Who trains David?
My body?
David, the biomechanics of David.
Man.
The mind, the spirit, the soul. Who trains David?
Shoot. This is a sentence, of course.
Yep.
Not one word?
Sentence.
Oh, no, one sentence?
You can, one sentence. It could be a run-on, don't worry.
Sheesh, who trains David? I don't want to say myself, but I kind of do.
Basically meaning, how does David get better?
Oh, boy. I get better by those around me that are honest with me, that I love. And, that includes myself, So, having good people in your circle, like fiance, like my mother, like, best friends, good friends, just people who challenge you on a daily, that's how I get better. Just keeping people in my circle that are always expecting more from me. And it's been something that's been hard to come by for me. I felt like I was always someone that motivated myself, and I found it hard to be motivated, and people, I guess, maybe found it hard to maybe try to motivate me. I don't know if it was like a intimidation thing or whatever it was, but I find more now, there's people willing to tell me things, and I appreciate the honesty. And, if I'm not honest with myself, at least I know those around me will be
honest with you.
that I care about and that I love. So I'd
Part
say that.
2 to this. It was last, and this one's one word. Did the game make you, break you, or build you?
Build. I'm not made yet. That's elaborate.
That's bar, man. That's a good one.
I'm not made yet.
That's
I'm still being
one.
made, bro.
That's a good one. Well, my friend, that will conclude the interview. And I want to say, you are honestly, I've always, I hated Gates. I hate everybody at Gates, but I've always been a fan, a quiet fan. Always been inspired by you. There's one person I remember when I was in Brampton. I used to go to the Y. Me, Kamish, and Akeem. We used to go to the Y.
Yeah.
And I always used to say to them and say to myself, even if I didn't tell them, I was like, I know David's working somewhere. I swear to God, I used to say that. I said, I know David's working somewhere, and we're trying to beat Gates. We never did, obviously, but I always had that. So every time I played you, I was always up for the game.
Yep.
Because you were the one who beat us. You took all the Rapsa titles.
Yeah. We did that. So shared in cups and all that stuff.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
So I'm always been a fan, and it's really good to see. I say this about myself, like basketball's still good to me. I just can't play the way I want to, but yet now I found broadcasting, and I found other ways to stay involved in the game, and I found this. I found a microphone, and I can talk about basketball in other ways, and I know that's happening to me because the game knows what I gave the game. The game knows. I don't need anyone else to know, but I gave everything I had to basketball through injury, through everything. I came back for it. And I know that that's all the things that are happening for you. When I talked about the private jets and all that stuff is happening because of what you did at 15.
Yes.
When you were in the gym at 5 a.m. putting the 500 shots, and it may not have worked out for you playing wise, but all that work didn't go unnoticed, and it went into something else. So I hope people who listen to this know that they can work that hard, and it's not going to go in vain. It may just be in another direction.
Exactly.
And another form. So it's really good to see where you're at.
I appreciate it.
I hope you keep going. I know you will, and I'm excited to see where you end up, man.
Love, brother. Appreciate you.
No doubt.
I appreciate you. And
No doubt.
and just to say this too, like as you said, you found the mic. Again, as I said, just about the interest that we have in finding those interests. Like it's for me, it's beautiful to see.
Thank you, man.
Because I remember how hard it was for you.
Yeah.
I remember being there.
Yeah.
I remember just feeling it for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And to know that you seem to have found peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's admirable, and it makes me feel even more at peace too, because this is something that I know you deal with, and I know I've dealt with.
Yeah.
So to know that we both, you know what I'm saying, and you found your peace, and I'm finding my peace too. It's just a beautiful thing, and You know what I'm saying? It just makes me happy, brother. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna share some of the photos on the episode of
100%.
of us on the court. I'm gonna send it to Tristan. I'm gonna. There's one of us in Mississauga, actually in Tyson's building.
Yes.
And that's when we first started working. There's one in Brampton. So I'm gonna share all that.
100%.
It's gonna be good,
100%.
man.
I'm excited to see,
Dope,
brother.
man.
For sure.
Pleasure.
For sure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's it.